This is a Glass Box Media podcast.
Welcome to My Worst Date. I'm Cassie.
I'm Keegan.
And I'm Christina.
Yeah, and I want to say right off the top that we are recording remotely. Cassie has the plague in her house right now. So if this sounds different at all, just know that it's because we are recording remotely, sadly, this week.
Yeah, I both of my my guys came down with it. I have been avoiding them like the plague, and I haven't gotten I feel fine. I feel fine, but I'm also again trying to just keep distance between all of us. But yeah, we are plague house. It's no bueno. And even Chris tested negative yesterday. I didn't even test because Dylan tested positive, and I was like, I'll save my test until we want to leave the house for sure. But we were supposed to record together. We had a friend's party to go to. A lot of stuff was going on, and it was just let's just not.
Everybody's sick right now. Everybody is sick right now. My boss is sick. The flu's going around. There's just a lot happening. So everybody be safe out there. I saw that, we can get free tests in the mail again.
Yeah.
So,
good.
Take advantage of that. Have a safe holiday.
It's so weird to me that this year is even more dangerous than last year, but we're all meh, whatever. I don't see masks anymore.
I was just saying, nary a mask in sight.
It's just this is just life again now, and so be
I
very
had to
careful.
go to the grocery store a couple times to get provisions, and because mask on. I saw a lot of masks in the grocery store. I was surprised.
Yeah, people are wearing them again. I think people are getting nervous just because everybody is sick,
Right. Holidays,
but it's certainly hit or miss. It's definitely not a requirement. I went to a couple of work holiday parties this week, and I wore a mask to one of them because I was around people who I didn't know, but the others were people in my office, and so I didn't. But I just feel people are calculating risk at this point, doing a risk assessment every time they leave the house or say yes to a party or what have you. It's just, for sure, this is life now, and I think it will be life for the foreseeable future. It just is what it is.
Oh my God.
Yeah, Chris brought it home to the house with from his work party for sure. And he was sick, and he kept testing negative for that first week, and he was really sick, and I was again avoiding him then too. But I was because even if it wasn't COVID, I was I don't want to be sick on anything, because it seems it's either COVID or this bad flu that's going around. And I was just but yeah, he didn't test positive until literally the day before your party.
Yeah.
Keegan.
Yeah.
And he was so mad. He is super stir crazy. He is ready to shed his skin off. He's dying to get out of the house.
It's been 2 weeks of just
it's just awful. He hates it. He's so used to going to work every day, right?
Yeah.
So he's just literally ready to peel it out of his skin. He is not having it. So, and he's usually, I've been sleeping in the living room on the couch, which is a fucking nightmare, by the way, but he loves sleeping on the couch. And I'm how did we switch this up? Because I fucking hate the couch. It is so uncomfortable. He's loves sleeping on the couch. So finally yesterday, we pulled all the blankets, did all the sheets, did all the stuff, changed all that off, all of his sickness, and switched rooms because I was I can't take it anymore. So, plus then too, on that tiny ass couch, I got the dog and the cat both want to sleep with me. I'm motherfuckers,
I need space.
A huge ass bed.
Yeah,
go sleep with your dad. And they just won't. No matter how I move, they'll readjust themselves to get between my legs, and I'm
yeah. Always. I mean, it's nice to be liked. Thank you. I
True.
love being loved. However, I also love sleep. I love sleep a lot. I'm a sleepy bitch.
Yep.
Well, during this COVID plague time in my house, the other thing that has happened is we've been watching separate things, which we do on occasion, but for 2 weeks it's been a lot. So it's just trying to find things that we don't watch together to try to watch, right? And so I don't even know how I found it. I found it, I think, because I don't know, one thing had led to another. The movie that we're going to do next month for our Tainted Love was based off a romance novel. And I was like, oh, I wonder if there's any other like movies based off romance novels. I was like, there's a real market here. And it turns out I am right. There is a real market here. And it's called Passionflix. Oh. And so did I take the test drive?
Wait, how is this like? Is this an addition for like Amazon Prime or something like that?
Yes. It's an Amazon Prime channel, called Passionflix, and all of the movies are based upon books. And some of them, I'm like, oh shit, these are books I've read. I would love to see. I
knew about Passionflix, and I knew it wasn't good because I follow Kenny JD on YouTube. I've talked about her on the show before, but she does like she calls it Bad Movies in a Beat, where she like talks about bad movies and does her makeup. And she's done more than one Passionflix movie on that channel, and I've watched them.
So easy to do.
It is, the budget is $2,
which makes no sense, by the way. So what I found, because I watched a bunch of them, I was like, well, I am here for research and I'm going to watch multiple of them. It is the most Kirkland brand actors you've ever seen. It's like the guys aren't even hot. I'm like, I know hotter guys in my real life day to day than that have been cast in some of these movies.
And they always look very similar. It's kind of like, remember when I sent you the AI that wrote the Christmas movie, and they're like Hallmark hot, right? Like there's that like generic Christmas movie hot. And I feel like it's kind of the same thing where it's like, why does every man have like the weirdest stubble beard? Like it's always this like almost
can
beard
never shave
that's
fully.
Like not quite a beard. Like every single one of them have that exact same facial hair situation going on. They were cut, like every man on those Passionflix, and also, Christmas movies as well, Hallmark movies or whatever. Like
it has a lot of common
from the exact same cloth. It's like they came out of a bad movie factory.
It's amazing. I literally, one of the movies that I started watching because I was like, I cannot complete this film. First of all, the guy was like, it was very much like I don't even remember which one it was called, but anyway, he was like, oh yeah, do I have that perfectly sandy blonde hair? I'm like, motherfucker, you are a brunette who got some highlights. Stop. And he looked like fucking George Michael with like I'm like a dead ringer for George Michael. And I'm like,
no.
What are we doing here, people? What are we doing?
Not to say that George Michael wasn't an attractive man, but it's a very specific style.
This isn't how you want George Michael to act either. Like it was very like I don't know. It was very, very awful.
Wait,
but
is this like, what is it? Like Showtime After Dark or Skinamax or whatever? Is it softcore porn? Or are there sex scenes?
Okay. So the one that I watched two things I have to tell you. One, I watched one that was called Gabriel's Inferno.
Oh, Kenny JD covers that one. Cassie, if you want, I will send you the link to it if you want to watch her talk about that, because I watched that video, so I know what that movie is about.
There are three episodes of Gabriel's Inferno. It's not an episode, but it's like 3 movies of Gabriel's Inferno. Then there's 3 movies of Gabriel's Redemption or Retribution. I don't fucking know. Anyway,
did
I watch
terrible.
all 6 of the movies? Yes. Is it awful? The woman, listen, I tried so fucking hard because the guy is hot in this one. The guy is so smoking hot, but the girl, it's like they didn't even put any makeup on her. It was like they were trying to make her like ugly her up. And I was like so hard to watch. But here's what I will say about it. First of all, I bet the book's amazing. Second of all, the tension that they create, because they do not fuck the first 2 movies. But the tension is really good. So like when they kiss, you're just like, okay. for a movie that's not got sex in it. But here's the problem. Movie 3, they were like, we did you dirty and we know. So we're going to save the back half of this entire movie for just one fuck scene. When I tell you, and it's so long and embarrassing, and it's just close-ups of their mouths and like tight on like a leg or a butt cheek. It's just like, oh God, it's awful. It's so awful. So the second thing I must tell you is that these are all directed by one woman. And that woman is Tosca Musk.
Tosca Musk? Like Elon Musk related?
No.
Cassie.
It's Elon Musk's sister.
Shut your fucking mouth right now.
I will not. This is Passionflix is her pet project. All of these movies are fucking directed. And at first I was like, somebody had mentioned, like I'd read a review. Listen, when I tell you, I was like, oh, they're all directed from a female lens. So I'm like, I can get down with that. And then I saw Tosca Musk. And then I Googled Tosca Musk. And I was like, yup.
We simply must stop nepo babies. We have to stop rich people, okay? Like, we need to come together. This is unacceptable.
Wow.
We can't just let people with a lot of money do things. Like, it's destroying our society. I can't.
Listen.
When I tell you that our group of talented friends could put on a better production with the tools that we have in our current capability in our current arsenal, we could put together a higher quality film. Trust me when I say we could. And why are we not?
I'm sorry. I'm really stuck on this because I'm like, you grew up on an emerald mine in South Africa, benefiting off of apartheid, and the budget for this movie is 2 doll hairs? Really? How? You have so much
and it
money.
didn't go to makeup, I'll tell you that.
I don't understand. I don't get it. Wow.
Now
and wardrobe.
Now things are starting to make sense. Now things are actually starting to make sense because actually I think being raised in that household with everything that I know about that household, I don't know if she could explain what like love, passion, tension, like that kind of thing. When you're raised that far up above normal human interaction and behavior, that maybe that makes sense as to why the movies are so meh.
Yeah. You know what? I'm gonna say this, and I have tried, and you know I love to read, and I've done my best. Romance novels are just not for me. They're not like my favorite genre. I just don't love doing them. I like reading them, whenever we're going to do a Boobies and Newbies or something like that, because that's fun because I get to like talk to you guys about it. But it's not something that I would normally just like pick up and read. It's just not my genre. So for me, like Passionflix was always like I cannot. Like, cause it's the books might actually be good, and then like the movies are going to be worse. I will say this, however, mentioning Boobies and Newbies, I, as someone who is not a romance movie or a romance book person, have been reading Kelly's book, Meet Me in Los Feliz, and I really like it. I actually really like it a lot. So I wanted to give her a plug and a shout out because not a romance book reader, and I'm really enjoying her book. So I want to give her love. Go pick up her little novella. It is so cute and charming.
Nice.
I love that.
Yeah.
Maybe Tosca could get her hands on it.
Oh, Jesus
Ruin it
Christ.
for TV.
Do not let Tanya Musk know about this book. Do
My
not
God.
let her know.
I don't know. Kelly, secure that bag, bitch. Get that money.
Final question. Do you actually have to fucking pay like a subscription for it?
It is $5.99 a month for this subscription.
No.
So
You're
I
getting
did
robbed. You are getting robbed blind.
I did the like 7-day trial, and day 1 I canceled it, but you can keep it for like, I was like immediately cancel. I was like, no, thank you. And I was like, well, it ends on like the 19th or whatever. And I was like, okay, well, shit, I might as well just watch everything that I'm even halfway interested in. One of them was a Sylvia Day book, which is Afterbird and After, I can't remember. Anyway.
Kenny JD did those too. She covered them as well.
That book's good. The movie is garbage. And and it so sucks because like the material is there. Like you could see it's just it really does just fall shy of what it could be. And when I tell you that there is this hazy filter on everyone, very soap opera-y, where everybody's just a little soft on the skin.
Oh,
and
no.
very, you know what I mean? Like it's got this kind of soft haze on everything.
Soft
You're
lighting.
Just like,
I can't. I cannot. I would throw up if I was trying to watch one of those movies.
You guys. I need somebody to watch at least like half of one of these.
Well, how about we let our patrons vote? Do you want us to watch one of these Passionflix movies together and talk about it? Like, I'll let you decide.
We'll video it. That would be so fun. Oh my God.
The face that will be on my face as we watch any one of these movies. I can't.
Listen, I am all about people pursuing their passions and stuff, but the amount of people that think it's just so fucking easy to like act or direct or whatever.
Precisely that I'm like, we have to stop the nepotism babies. Like we just have to stop them, because there is, and not to say that every single nepo baby is untalented or didn't like work, as far as like didn't study or anything like that. Like I'm sure that they're out there, but the number of people who are just like, now I'm a filmmaker. And it's like, why? Because your last name is Spielberg? That doesn't make you a filmmaker.
The movie, by the way, the movie that I'm having you guys watch, the After movies, the lead male actor, his name is Hero Fiennes.
I wonder. Yeah.
Yep. 100% related.
Yep.
It's like Hero Fiennes Tiffin, but his mom is a Fiennes and his uncles are
Rafe and Joseph.
Yeah.
Listen, this I get so frustrated because we are truly in our nepo baby era. Like everyone is related to someone.
Anyone else a chance.
Yeah, and it's just like there is no space for like different views or creative minds, and it's making the industry so homogenous in a way that I hate. Like I watched Stranger Things and I really enjoyed the character Robin on Stranger Things. She's so cute, like no hate at all. But then I was like, because I found out she did an interview where she was like, I tried being on Raya for a while, and I was like, oh well, okay, like why were you trying to be on Raya? It's because she's Ethan Hawke and and Uma Thurman's daughter, and I'm like, oh. Okay, it's like every single person. Single person. I am so tired. Even if you're talented, like I get it, but there's just no space for anyone else. And then always it's the line of like, well, I had to work as hard as anybody else to get here. Like it's not because my parents are this person that I'm successful. And I'm like, look, you may have been successful anyway because you are talented, but please don't say that like it had nothing to do with the fact that both of your parents are like major A-list celebrities. Come on.
Yeah,
right.
You're not fooling anybody.
Yeah, like Steven Spielberg's daughter gave an interview where she said that, where she was just like, and I think she may have even thrown out the incredibly condescending line, I had to work even harder because my last name is Spielberg. And I'm like, honey, you had the rich girl profession of equestrian last week. And now you're a filmmaker, and it had nothing to do with the fact that your last name is literally Spielberg. Stop it right now. I can't.
Yeah. That
you did not work harder.
You gotta admit, just like don't treat us like we're stupid. Admit that name opened doors for you.
Yeah, and that's okay. Like,
and that's fine. Right. And then you had to close the deal by having at least some knowledge or talent or what have you. That's fine too. But it's just like, don't try to pretend that it's something that it's not. Either your last name and your connections are what get you in the door.
Yeah.
And that is what it is.
Yeah. Well, while we're on this subject, I think that we should fuck, marry, kill nepo babies.
Oh my God, that's exactly where my head was going.
There's so many of them. There are so many of them. And you know what? Some of them I actually like. And so in the interest of extending an olive branch, I will make my pick Zoe Kravitz.
Oh, good one.
Oh, good.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Oh, there's
I'm not doing Nick Cage, by the way.
So many to choose from.
Truly, there are so many.
I'm like you've got who my favorite ones are because they're so
and new ones every day. I mean, you've got the Quaid boy, Meg Ryan and Dennis Quaid's son was just in the Scream movie. You've got Kurt Russell and Goldie Hawn's son is doing stuff now. Like just so many.
Yeah, you've got like what's her name that I really like, who's like Peter Gabriel's daughter or something.
Lily Collins.
Lily Collins.
Yeah,
Phil
Collins. Yeah, she's beautiful.
For putting that together.
She's so beautiful.
So nice too.
Oh,
like,
really?
Really nice in real life.
She has the best.
I love that.
She has the best eyebrows I've ever seen. Like she's got just gorgeous eyebrows.
Yeah. Well, let's see.
How about Chet Hanks?
Oh my God. Get out of here.
Yeah, I think you know what I'm gonna do? Drew Barrymore.
Love it.
I
was just thinking about her today because she was on an interview with Ziwe, who is fucking hilarious. And I love, but first of all, they're both Pisces. And Drew Barrymore is like queen of the Pisces. And she also has ADHD. So I've never seen Ziwe like stunned into silence in this way because she was trying to answer a question and she went off on like five different tangents, ended up talking about like Paw Patrol. It's like, what are you doing?
Amazing.
I seriously is my goal in life to someday meet Drew Barrymore because I just feel
magical
in my heart that we would be very close friends.
She is just so authentic and does not give a shit about coming across as weird or like whatever. She just doesn't care, which is such an admirable quality. I love that about her.
And she's been talking a lot lately about her dating journey and everything.
Amazing.
And if we could ever have her on a double date episode, it would just be like life achievement unlocked.
I need to talk to her about Tom Green. Like we need to have a conversation.
Right? It seems like they still like are friends, like friendly.
I know.
They had that, like that was such a cool interview that they did together, like the two of them. That was really interesting.
No, did she do an interview with Tom Green? She did one with Justin Long. That was really sweet. You know,
I didn't see the Justin Long one.
We talked about it on the podcast.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Maybe I did.
So she did
What was I thinking?
I don't know.
I really feel like they did something, like they connected or something.
They might have. I think she has good relationships with a lot of her exes. So
yeah, that's always a good sign.
Yeah.
I'm choosing Kate Hudson then.
Okay.
Oh, wonderful. So Drew Barrymore, Kate Hudson,
Zoe Kravitz.
Dude, we picked the fucking best.
Honestly,
of the Nepo
cream of the crop.
Cream of the crop in terms of Nepo babies. Yeah, we could have gone really far the other direction had we wanted to.
It's so true. Gwyneth Paltrow. I mean,
these are women whose name may have gotten them through the door, but their hard work and talent and perseverance made it so that like I wouldn't even be like, ugh, Nepo baby, you with them. You know what I mean? Because they really made it. At the end of the day, they put their own stamp on it. They did the
specifically
work
Drew Barrymore, I believe.
I
really think that
also
about
feel
her.
like these three women, when I think about Nepo babies, I think about the current generation of them because it is so prevalent now in a way that it wasn't entirely before. Right. So they are nepotism babies 100%. Like they grew up with famous parents and in Drew Barrymore's case, a very famous last name, you know, so like they are definitely nepotism babies, but I don't think of it in the same way as I feel like they got their foot in the door before it was every single person on every single show is someone's kid. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's a slightly, it is, they are, but you know, not quite in the same way. But I think all three of these women are
This is going to be tough. I don't know. I don't know if we can kill.
I think we got to fuck, marry, friend.
Yeah, we'll friend. We'll friend to the end of the year. It's been hard, okay?
Yeah. It's been a tough year.
I don't have the energy. Yeah, okay. I know what I'm going to do.
I know what I'm going to do, too. I guarantee that everybody does this answer, too. So go ahead.
Okay. I am going to marry Drew Barrymore.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm going to marry her because I feel like again, she's good friends with all of her exes to my knowledge. So even if it didn't work out, we would still be friends. Like, I think that we would still have a great time. It would be a very mature relationship. She knows who she is. You know, I don't think it would, I just feel like it would be really, really nice and like lovely.
I see like cooking with her in the kitchen, sharing wine. It's just like, it's
I mean,
so
in that,
chill.
In that interview with Z-Way, actually, she was talking about how like she isn't sure that she is okay with children being in acting, like, because, you know, everything that happened with her. And she was actually talking about her own children. And she was like, I want them to know what hard work feels like. I want them to make their beds and know how to do the dishes. And like, so I really love that about her as well, that like, she's not going to, even if they decide to go into the entertainment industry later on, at least it won't be a situation where like they don't know how to do anything for themselves. And that's a priority for her, which is really nice. Well, and I believe her when she says that.
TikTok, that guy that was just like, I don't know how to do laundry or do the dishes or whatever.
I need somebody to cook and clean for me because I don't know how to do those things. And I'm like, it's not a flex. It's not cute to say that you're an adult who doesn't know how to take care of yourself on the most basic level possible.
Exactly.
Yeah, like it's a weird thing to brag about, kind of. But so I'm gonna marry Drew Barrymore, and I'm gonna fuck Zoe Kravitz.
Exactly right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, she is so freaking hot.
Yeah,
it's
she's
like
stunning.
Illegal.
Yeah,
illegal.
It's
how
illegal.
beautiful
well,
she
because
is.
both of her parents are
fucking
insanely
stunning.
hot.
Yeah,
Like Lisa Bonet is one of the hottest people ever.
100%.
Is gorgeous.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah, so
and Lenny
I'm like
Kravitz is just like
Equal.
smoking.
If
Yeah,
you look up
Hot.
sex in the dictionary.
yes, yeah. And I again feel like she is one of those who it wouldn't be weird. Like you guys could fuck, and then like you would still be friends. Like it would be totally
you never
fine.
have to talk about it again.
Yeah, it would
I
be
feel
totally
like it's
fine.
whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. And then
And her boyfriend's hot too. I mean, we could totally get a Channing threesome going. I'm
Tatum.
happy to do this for you.
She's still friends with Jason Momoa, and so I'm
Oh my
like,
God.
amazing.
That would be fucking weird. I don't think we can do that.
And then I would genuinely want to be friends with Kate Hudson. Like, I actually
Same.
really would be. Like, she
100%.
looks like it. I would go on hikes with her.
Yes.
Like, we would do yoga together. Like, I feel like it would be so much like fun. I would really enjoy spending time with her. Plus, I would get to go hang out with Goldie Hawn. Maybe they'll invite me for Thanksgiving or something.
Oh,
like that would be
God.
the best
God.
if I was besties with Kate Hudson. So I think that actually.
I love this
This
for
is
us.
a wonderful reality. Like all these
Yes.
women, I'm like, I love it.
I love this
is
for
a
us.
really, really great way to wind up the year because I'm like, it really is like
Manifest
that is the
this
exact
energy.
thing. I was like, we're all three going to do that because it's just
It's
the
right.
right answer.
It just
it's the
feels right.
answer.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we have a new patron. I want to give a big shout out to Mimi. Welcome to our Patreon family.
Yay!
Welcome for the new year. We have so many new exciting things planned for next year. We are getting our video studio up. So starting next month, knock on wood, as if all goes well, we will start uploading regular video content. Some of it will be exclusive to Patreon, so definitely join us over there. If you've been waiting, 2023 is the year to get over there. So thank you so much, Mimi, for joining. And then I wanted to give another shout out to M. Rossi, who did up their pledge on Patreon. Thank you so much. We really do value every single person who supports us on Patreon. It has allowed us to do the things that we did this last year, including our live show, including buying the equipment necessary to start video recording at home in our own studio. We really, really appreciate you all. And I also understand that not everybody has the means to support us financially, and that's totally okay too. We value every single one of our listeners. And if you want to give us a non-monetary gift for the holidays, please leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. It actually really does help the podcast so much. But we are grateful for every single one of you. Thank you so much.
Another big shout out to when we looked at our Spotify Wrapped, we found that like the vast majority of people found our podcast from being texted it by another listener. So all of you people who are like texting our episodes out to people, god damn, thank you so much. It's huge. So we keep growing because you keep sharing with your friends, and we're just so grateful for that. So thank you, and please keep doing it. Well, you guys want to take 5 and we'll come back with stories?
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Awesome.
And we're back. All right. I have the Tainted Love this week, so I will go first with our stories. I went on a date that went well, but finished quite early, so I invited her back to mine for a drink. As we walked to the front door in the failing light, with me leading the way, I suddenly heard a scream.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
I spun round only to see her confused and frightened face disappearing into the ground.
Wait,
She had accidentally stepped on the loose round cover of the drain that was partly buried in the garden of the terraced house I was renting. I had spent the previous 6 months telling myself I needed to fix it and had been unconsciously stepping around it. She was not so well informed or lucky.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
I ran over to the new hole in the ground and peered in. There, standing up to her thighs in filth, was my date, crying.
Oh, no.
She just fell into... He's just walking in here.
Oh, my God.
Her dress up by her waist, her shoes ruined, and her dignity quite possibly lost forever.
Oh, my God.
She still...
My dude.
She still looked pretty, I thought, but this probably wasn't the time to say so.
No, that ain't it.
You still look pretty.
Oh, no. Who's the best one in this group for something like this to happen to?
Oh, God. Me. Yeah.
You think you would be like whatever? Oh my God! I think you would laugh it off.
I'd laugh at it. You know, my
I
cross-eyed ass
too,
is so used to like falling and doing shit that I've just learned. You just gotta laugh it off.
She needed more than compliments and comedy at a moment like this. It took a good few sloppy, stinking, messy minutes to haul her out. It's just like quicksand, like trying to pull her out.
Oh, God. Meanwhile, I'm puking everywhere.
And then 2 hours for her to bathe, borrow clothes, talk to her mom on the phone, disinfect, and recover.
Yeah.
As finishes to first dates went, this wasn't my finest. Having said that, we were together for 3 very happy years.
That's
a good old trauma bond. Yep. We love that.
I love to see it. Okay. So my story goes, we were on our way to go for a hike and got lost on the way there. 1 hour became 3. His car was on E and our phones died in the middle of nowhere. We got to where we thought we were supposed to be, couldn't find the trail after walking about an hour, got back into the car, and he had locked his keys into the car.
Oh, no.
God.
Oh, no. So you're like lost.
Reminder, our phones are dead.
Yep.
He had to throw a huge rock at his window to break it and get the keys.
No.
Oh my God. It's dark out at this point. We go to drive off, terrified that his car was going to run out of gas. And he ran over his backpack that he just left outside.
Oh my God.
Oh my God. Just like, what? Okay. At this point, I just couldn't stop laughing at our lives. Well, he was quite obviously pissed off. So we just parked the car and made out for a little while.
Wow. They're like, well, might as well.
You know what? This ain't going anywhere. Let's just keep it here for a minute and make out.
Oh my God.
Even though we were certain we were going to die at this point, we didn't have GPS or anything. So we had to pull over to someone's random house in the middle of nowhere.
Oh no. This is like some Texas Chainsaw Massacre shit.
Yeah.
This is how scary movies always start. and ask them how to get to the nearest gas station.
Also, if strangers pulled into my driveway, I'd be like,
nobody's home.
no. Yeah.
Nobody's home. Bye-bye.
That is also how scary movies start.
Exactly.
Exactly
Yeah,
right.
I've seen The Strangers.
Yep.
No, thank you.
Oh, my
I don't want
God.
anybody knocking on my door in the middle of the night.
Nobody's home. I thought the kid would never talk to me again after that date. And he later admitted that he thought the same thing. The way he handled everything that day actually made me feel so protected and safe, even though we clearly weren't. We became official a few weeks later. We've been together a year, and we both love talking about this story, and every once in a while have a laugh.
Look at this. Happy ending.
That is
I
amazing.
know.
Listen, I have found that it is useful in a relationship that at least like one person kind of holds it together. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
have to have somebody.
You have to have like the serious person who's taking everything a little bit seriously and needs to get to the, next chain of events that has to happen to make sure that we're safe and do the right thing. And then you have to have the one person who's like, of course, this is fucking happening to us. Like,
Yep.
of course. And just laughing. That 100% is me.
Oh, yeah.
It is the one who's like, I mean, of course this happened.
Yeah.
And, and now it's an adventure.
Oh, well, speaking of adventure, I'm about to take you guys on an adventure because we got a listener story. She says, please keep it anonymous.
Oh.
Oh, no.
Then you know it's going to be good. You're like, ooh.
The subject is a magic school bus bad date story.
Oh, my God. Because we were just talking
about Mrs. Frizzle.
Wow.
So she says, hey, ladies, I love this podcast. I'm in the middle of listening to the latest episode. Don't worry about it. And I knew I had to stop and send you this story. Someday when I write a book about all of the crazy dating experiences, I will dedicate a whole chapter to this clusterfuck.
Oh, God.
Oh, no.
Here it goes. Fall 2005.
Just we have a title card.
Exactly.
Yeah.
set the scene.
Interior.
Exactly. It's all set up for Tosca Musk.
No.
Tosca, if you're listening, I want to cut.
Exactly.
I had just turned 21 and I was doing a study abroad semester in Spain. I was suddenly swimming in male attention. It's important to mention that up to now, I was still super innocent. First kiss at 18, hadn't had sex yet, had never seen a naked man.
Oh. Okay.
At this point, I had been living in Spain for about 3 months. I'd kissed lots of guys. I saw my first penis and
wow.
experienced my
Congratulations.
first orgasm. So I was living my best life. In Madrid, like other major cities, the main tourist areas were always teeming with club promoters giving out coupons for free drinks and cover, usually focusing on women. On this particular day, a promoter named Azim came up to my roommate and me, gave us coupons, hit on us a little, and seemed extra interested in me. I was super flattered. He was paying
You cannot trust a club promoter. This is something that
Never.
everyone learns in their early 20s.
Never.
Everybody. Like, every woman has gone through this phase. Like,
Yep.
you can't. I'm sorry if any ex-club promoters are listening, but y'all are a shady bunch.
Yes.
You just are. Even if you aren't personally. As a group, you could use some help, okay?
These are true life tips that you're passing out now. I feel like never trust a club promoter could be a t-shirt.
Never.
Honestly.
It goes on a t-shirt.
Yes.
Good. Don't trust them.
TM.
Don't trust
Don't
them.
do it.
He was paying attention to me and not my tall, blonde, thin friend for a change. It felt nice. He asked, everybody's got that. Everyone's got the hot friend. And then when the guy pays attention to you, you're like, oh my God, I'm out with my hot friend. And
Yes.
so it felt nice. He asked me for my phone number, which I happily provided, and we made plans to meet up. Here's where things start getting a little weird. The next day, we meet in a super public location. I'm running late because the metro had stopped on the way there, and I was feeling rushed and flustered. So when Azim suggested going back to his place, instead of going out to get a drink or something, I stupidly agree. In hindsight,
a club promoter's house? No.
Sir.
Yeah.
You can't do it.
How many roommates does this motherfucker have, by the way,
also,
too? Because
you
you
said
know.
house.
You're right. I'm so sorry. I know it's not a house. Home.
Well,
Well, if it's a house, they have 30 roommates now.
so I'm lucky I wasn't taken or some shit. I don't have a Liam Neeson with a particular set of skills to save me. Moving on, it's important to note in Spain at the time, there are 3 different types of temporary lodging. At the top, hotels. In the middle, hostels. At the very bottom, pensiones. Pensiones are basically rooms in some sort of building that you may have to share with a bunch of people. No private bathrooms, kind of dirty, definitely sketchy.
It's like a squat.
Wait, what do you mean? Like
It's like squatting
some kind of building? Like what? That's very vague. What kind of building?
in some sort of, yeah, exactly. I do not know. I have not been to Pensione or Madrid. So what I'm picturing, though, if something is below hostel level lodging.
Yeah, 'cause hostels are not ideal.
No.
Like I wouldn't take a date back to a hostel either.
Listen, some
no.
people in their 20s are hostel people. I think that you guys both know me well enough to know that is my own kind of personal hell. Who in
Yeah.
this
There's no way.
There's no way.
You don't even like to go to a one, nobody else is in the space Airbnb.
Exactly.
You don't even
I
like
don't.
that.
I don't.
No,
I
So,
you don't
this
even
is
like
not for
sharing
you.
hotel rooms with
No.
us. So
I
like
know.
you don't want to share a hotel room with a stranger
Cassie-
or like a dirty bathroom.
Cassie doesn't share food. Christina doesn't share rooms. That's just
No.
what it is.
You're like, can't do
No.
it.
No. Oh my God. So we're going below hostel, a pensione.
You'd be out immediate. Well, I don't know. In your early 20s, do you think you'd be out?
How hotsy.
100. 100. Like he's taking her up to the room at the pensione where he's staying. He makes sure to mention that his roommate isn't there. I don't know. In my 20s, maybe. If it's like
early 20s. I feel like I did a lot of, if anybody's ever like fooled around in a dorm room,
Yes.
like I feel
Yeah.
like early 20s were a different time.
Yeah.
We had different
Yes.
standards.
Yep.
Like
Yes.
you got
None,
even
you
into
mean.
mid 20s and it would have been a hard like, nah,
Hard,
dude,
like, no.
I gotta go.
Yeah. It's so true. It's so
Okay.
true. Let's go to my place instead.
Yeah.
So I followed that man like any naive, attention-starved woman in her early 20s would do.
Yeah. Yeah.
He led me through dark hallways, up some stairs. He finally opened the door, and I was greeted with the tiniest little room crammed with 2 twin beds, a shelf, a TV, a sink, and dirty clothes just strewn on the floor.
Oh, but why? Oh my God, I get so frustrated. I'm
fucking
like,
hate this.
why would you invite her back to your place when you know what your place is?
Yep.
Like it's not even clean.
It's the same thing as like when people offer to pick you up in their car and they have like a mountain of
disrespectful.
fast food stuff on the floor
Right.
of the
You-
car.
You do not need to have a nice car. You do not need to have a nice apartment. I understand like times are tough and making money is hard,
Yeah.
right? We
Yeah.
live
It
in
doesn't gotta be-
a
it doesn't have to be
capitalist
big.
hellscape. But if you are offering to pick me up in your 1995 Toyota Camry, that's fine. But please, it can't be that and also have a mountain of like trash
Fast food bags.
Yeah, in the passenger seat.
And your
Like,
Mountain
just
Dew
clean.
cans
Just
in the back.
clean it. I don't care.
Yeah. Azim and I sat down on his roommate's bed and we started talking. He asked me about my boyfriend because at one point while we'd been arranging our date, I mentioned I had a boyfriend back in the States. I thought it made me seem less desperate if I made up a boyfriend.
Oh God.
Hey, it's safe. You know what I mean? You're like, I don't know if I want to be with this guy, so maybe I can invent this thing that's a boundary. You know what
Have
I
an
mean?
out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Still on the roommate's bed, Azim and I start making out. My shirt comes off, quickly followed by my bra.
Wait, why's it got to be on the roommate's bed?
I was about to say the same. I had the same question. Both of us have our finger up. Why the roommate's bed?
I have no idea. She doesn't say, but I'm like, that's shady. If I'm that
That's
roommate,
so shady.
I don't like that.
Fuck you. I'd be so mad.
There's some touching. I finally made it to second base, and I can tell he's enjoying himself. But the whole time we're making out, I keep getting distracted. My eyes keep straying to that tiny little TV on that tiny little shelf. You ladies always mention TV shows or movies that people put on before or during sexy time. We can all agree that there are some choices that are better than others. This fucking weirdo has the television turned to Magic fucking School Bus while we're making out.
What in the Mrs. Frizzle?
All I can hear is Miss Frizzle talking to her students in Spanish.
Why?
My brain cannot compute all that's going on. And now I'm making out with some random man I met on the street the day before. Insanity.
Oh, no.
But the story continues. Eventually, I'm laying down on the bed. Still the roommates. Miss Frizzle has been forgotten. Azim and I are still making out. He loves my boobs, but he keeps asking about my made-up boyfriend. I have made it abundantly clear that we're not having sex, that I'm still a virgin, which he has a hard time believing because of the whole stupid fake boyfriend thing.
Oh, no.
All of a sudden, this man is completely naked. I'm not even sure how it happens. One minute, he's obsessed with my tits, and the next, his pants are gone. I continue to tell him no sex, and this man apparently decides that if my vagina is off limits, then my tits will do just fine. This is like my second sexual experience ever, and in a matter of moments we've gone from making out to him being completely naked and titty fucking me, which we've talked about titty fucking before. I'm sorry, it's not for the girls. What does it do? What does the skin between your tits do to, you know what I mean? Like,
not a fucking thing.
Thankfully, I've never had the experience.
Thankfully for you,
because boobs are too small. Literally, would not.
It's literally just
they're not
rubbing
here.
on your chest.
Every guy's like, my dick is so
sternum,
big.
which I also have like the most bony fucking sternum in the world. So I'd just be like rubbing against ridges. So it's like not.
Like what is that? The old timey washboards.
Yes.
Listen, I have fake boobs, and my boobs are still like, it's still not like, I was like, I couldn't wait to try it after I had my boobs done, because I was like, oh, it's gonna be bad. It's not. It doesn't matter.
It doesn't. It wouldn't. It's like, it's just skin.
It's not sexy.
Yeah, it doesn't do anything for me. I've done it before, and I'm like, the dude enjoys it, and I'm all for throwing a dude a bone if he really likes it. But I'm like, if she literally just experienced her first orgasm like the month before, so she's like,
it ain't it.
In just getting into sex, and like this is probably the most explicit sexual experience that she's had so far, in a dirty pensione with fucking Magic School Bus playing in the background in Espanol.
I feel like that's doing some weird shit to your love map. You know what I mean? Like, you're making some weird connections. Like,
weird connections is totally the fucking name of this episode.
Oh no.
Oh my God. So, okay. Then this man jizzes on my face. I have this man's semen spurting on my face, and I'm in shock. I have never seen a man ejaculate before, and now it's all over my fucking face.
Up close and personal. That is one of those things. Look, if it's something that like you like or whatever, discuss it beforehand.
Right.
Like, you have to talk about that. You cannot.
Yeah.
It is such a violation
to
have someone
jizz in the face.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
Never.
You never know. You cannot assume that is okay. That's why you usually, like, a guy will be like, oh, I'm coming. And then the girl can decide to move in closer if she's into it, or move the fuck away if she isn't. But to just literally just blah, like...
you should never assume. Never assume that like that.
How's that go again?
Is okay. Yeah.
He must have seen my look of horror and disgust, because he quickly apologized, picked up a random shirt or pillowcase off the floor,
and on my face.
I don't know what I want less on my face. Something that you've picked up off your floor or
Honestly,
your jizz.
the jizz is cleaner, almost definitely.
Honestly,
like at least it's
100%.
probably more sterile than like whatever you just picked up. Now I have bed bugs on my face.
Just wait.
Keegan.
Sorry.
Wait. He handed it to me to wipe my face off with. He continued to apologize. I put my bra and shirt back on and I left. He tried texting and calling me incessantly for the next few days. It got bad enough that I had to threaten to involve the police, but afterwards he didn't contact me again. Somehow he couldn't get it through my head that I did not appreciate his salty surprise on my face. Salty surprise!
Oh, salty surprise! What are you talking about? That's the name of this episode. Are you kidding me?
Fucking disgusting.
Salty surprise!
No.
Oh my god. Well, who hasn't ordered the salty surprise in their days? It's been a minute since I've ordered one. That's for sure. Dear friends, I wish I could say this story ended here.
How does it not?
I even debated whether or not to share this part of the story. It is quite possibly my biggest shame receipt.
Oh no.
She went back. Did she go back?
After all of this, he gave me lice.
I told you. It was from that fucking pillowcase.
Oh no.
That's my friends. Is
Oh.
the terrifying tale of the salty surprise. Wow. Oh my god.
Wow,
I don't think we need a
honey.
tainted love today. I think we got it.
I will say this. I will say this. Listen, all of us have done really like questionable things in our early 20s.
Amen.
Definitely. I mean, we talk about it all the time. Like, it's a miracle that we've all made it to adulthood because, like, we all made some real questionable decisions in our early 20s, right? Like, because life's an adventure and, like, you're going to live forever, you know? And,
Truly. Oh my god. But yeah, no. I've come close, I think, to a few places of fooling around in where I'm like, bed bugs, lice, that kind of thing are a possibility.
Yeah, again, you got to do a risk assessment. You're like, how hot's the guy?
Now I'm glad she didn't take him back to her place because
God, yeah.
Yeah.
Lice in your place, Jesus. Ugh.
Oh my god.
Wow.
Well, you guys want to take 5 and we'll come back with the tainted love?
Yes.
Sounds good. And we're back. Keegan, tell us about your tainted love.
So I have the tainted love this week. The reason why I wanted to do this one, it's been on my list for a while. I think I may have even brought it up like years ago when I had first watched the documentary. But I decided to do it this week because I have been really upping, like I've been doing yoga every day and it's been like so wonderful. Honestly, it's something I actually look forward to doing every day and it makes me feel like so good. And I've been like doing meditation every day, like really just taking time aside to try and be like mindful and do that stuff. And it's been a really wonderful journey for me that I've been wanting to continue doing. So given all of that, I thought now would be a good time to talk about Bikram.
Oh my god.
Yes. So, of course,
this fucking guy. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Yoinks.
So I, of course, knew about Bikram yoga. I mean, like, who didn't? Because it was like such a major thing in like the late 90s, the early 2000s, like hot yoga, Bikram yoga, like everybody was talking about it. And so like, of course I knew about Bikram yoga. I never had any desire to do it. Like for me, even though I enjoy yoga, I don't like saunas even. Like I don't even really like being in a sauna. Like I'm
the same way.
Yeah, it's too hot. I have no desire to be in a room that's like 104 degrees doing yoga.
Yeah. And I feel like most of the people that I know, most of the yogis that I've worked with, or the people I've taken yoga practices through, have been like kind of anti it because they're like your heat should be generated from your own body, and so to add additional heat from the outside is not really great for you.
Right,
so
right.
That's what
and
I've heard.
And your breathing, like, you know, there are ways to like heat up your body with your breathing and stuff like that.
Right.
And also, you know, yoga, and we'll talk a little bit more about it, but it is such a spiritual practice. And I was talking to our friend Jill, who is like a fitness person. We went out last night, and I was talking to her about this, and it has like her certification in Ashtanga yoga, and she was talking about the few times that she took some Bikram like classes, and she was like, I really did not like it because it is a very Americanized yoga in that like it's so aggressive and they have like so many rules about like when you can drink water and when you can go to the bathroom and like things like that, which is like but
it sounds like a cult. But
for some people, like this yoga, it was very like, it resonated with them very deeply. It was very special, like this particular kind of yoga. Everybody has their things. I mean, we've talked before, Christina, about like, you know, running even for some people can be this almost like spiritual thing where you get to this level and you feel very connected to it. And a lot of people felt that way about Bikram yoga. So I ended up watching a documentary years ago, and then I rewatched it in preparation for this episode. I'll put it on the website along with all the other sources, but it is called Bikram Yogi Guru Predator, and you can watch that on Netflix. So Bikram Chowdhury emerged on the scene in the United States as a yoga teacher and competitive yogi in 1971, and he was immediately kind of this source of fascination. He made appearances on American television wearing just like the tiniest little Speedo type thing you've ever seen in your life, and he was treated with this kind of reverence. Honestly, when you look at the footage of it, it's very much like, I think so much of why Bikram was able to get away with what he was able to get away with is because Americans were so like, ooh, exotic, ooh. They really almost fetishized Bikram.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you know. But so he was treated with this kind of reverence like you might give a great spiritual teacher or something. It's like, awe. He had developed this series of 26 yoga postures that were meant to be performed in a specific sequence over the course of 90 minutes. The series was meant to be performed in roughly 104-degree heat, which Bikram said was meant to mimic the climate of India. Today, Bikram yoga is commonly referred to as hot yoga. Again, I've never done it, but it really did.
I have.
You have? You both have?
Yeah.
It seems awful to me.
First of all, I have never sweat that much in my whole life. I literally sweat so that I was completely wet.
Yeah.
Soaked. And I almost passed out like twice.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't breathe well in that kind of degree.
No, you know, I mean, and so it does force you to really focus on your breathing. I'll say that about it is like it would, because you would have to in order to get through it. You know, this is the sweatiest documentary you will ever see. It is so sweaty, just dripping sweat. And they have rules as well about like, Jill was telling me like they have rules as well about you can't wipe the sweat off of you or like anything. You just have to like... And again, I can see though, like there is something about pushing your body past a certain limit that can put people in this euphoric state that can be addictive, right?
Yeah,
like,
that was not it for me, because you do in that heat push beyond what you would normally be able to do because your muscles are so warm. But it made me so fucking sore afterwards because I pushed myself too hard. You know?
Yeah.
I was sick after. I remember being like, I'm going to puke. I was sick.
But it's interesting in this documentary because you have people for whom this is such a special practice for them. So I don't want to come across as like I'm diminishing their thing, because I'm like, I get it. Like there are people who like to run marathons or do triathlons, and I'm like, that would make me sick too. So like...
Exactly right. Yeah. There's different types of exercise and or mindfulness or practices that people do that work for them. And
don't work
this wasn't
for
it for
people.
me.
Right. Yeah. So it wasn't just that this specific type of yoga was done in such a high heat that made it unique. It was Bikram himself. He had this cult of personality right from the beginning. And like I said, I think we have this idea that yoga is this very like Zen practice. And Bikram was a big contrast to that. He was openly materialistic. He was loud. He bragged a lot about all of the celebrities he's taught. You know, he said that his very first student in the United States was Elvis Presley. His second was Richard Nixon. He had a way of teaching that was like militaristic in nature. Like it felt like a boot camp kind of. Like he would yell at you. He would belittle you like during yoga. And it's so counter to...
I was just going to say, that's so opposite of what you expect.
Right. But it's also very like American, you know, that
but
we're
also,
like...
and also, yeah, you're right. Some people actually really respond and really like that kind of drill sergeant. It ain't me. Like I would not want a trainer or whatever to be like that for me. But some people really... like that does encourage them and that does work for them.
No, yeah, for some people
this
that
whole
works.
group is like, don't tell me what to do. None of us would go for this.
Well, I mean, to be honest, like I went to boot camp. Like I went away to boot camp whenever I was in high school for a week. And I was great at it. Like because I'm also really competitive. And so I'm like, I want to be like, I want to be the best. And so like I in a situation like that, it does work because I'm just like, I want to be the best. So it works for me. It's not what I would choose to do. And it's also for me, not why I do yoga, you know, but for at this time too, you had like, what was it? Billy's boot camp. Like you had like boot camps that were really taking off in the fitness world.
Billy Blanks.
Billy Blake's. Yeah.
It wasn't boot camp though. It was like
Tybo. Yeah. But you had boot camps that were like, you know, taking off at this time as fitness. So it was kind of this weird combination of those things.
Also like the cult of CrossFit.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, everybody, and again, everybody has their things. But for me, for yoga practice, it's not for me.
Right.
As Bikram grew in popularity, media outlets began to run stories and profiles on him, like how did he develop this sequence and his specific type of yoga practice, like where did he come from? He told an interviewer in the 90s that he was born in Calcutta, and one day, you know, when he was a boy, he was like walking to school and he walked by the College of Physical Education there in Calcutta, which is basically a gymnasium run by a famous Indian bodybuilder and hatha yogi named Vishnu Charan Ghosh. And Bikram saw the boys outside the school basically doing like calisthenics and like yoga, complicated yoga poses. And he was like, I can do better than that. So he went over there and just started like doing stuff and got the attention of Ghosh, who kind of like took him under his wing, mentored him, and soon he was competing in yoga competitions. And he says that he took to it immediately, and immediately he was winning competitions to such a degree that they were like, Bikram's not allowed to compete anymore, because if Bikram competes, then nobody will win the competition. So he stopped doing that.
When I immediately hear that, I automatically think this is fake. This is all made up. This is bullshit.
Yep. Well, he says that after he was forced to stop competing as a yogi, he started competing as a bodybuilder. Like he started, you know, working out, and he was doing Olympic level bodybuilding, and he was all set to go to the Olympics when a few days before the Olympics, his spotter dropped a barbell on his leg, shattering his leg. And they were like, you're going to lose this leg. And he was like, I don't want to live without my leg. So he attempts suicide. And then his mentor finds him and is like, we're going to heal your leg with yoga. And so he's like, okay, incredible. So they do yoga, and miraculously, his leg is healed. And he's like, I am going to devote my life to healing people through yoga. So he makes his way to the United States.
This is honestly, that whole story, it just like makes me think of like the art of the deal, like
totally.
Trump shit. You know what I mean?
I use the word Trumpian in my notes later on because it is, we'll get there, but it just gets worse and worse. Like the more attention you give this guy, the more out of his mind, like bizarre he becomes, you know. But he's like, okay, so I healed my leg with yoga. I'm going to dedicate my life to yoga. So he came to the United States where he met President Nixon, and President Nixon had a leg injury that was so bad that they were going to have to amputate his leg. And he was like, Nixon, I will heal you through yoga. And so he says that like he worked with
the story.
He worked with President Nixon. And then, like, after working with him for a period of time, his leg was better. And he asked him, like, which was the damaged leg. And he says that Nixon couldn't tell him. That's how well his leg had healed.
Wow.
So, incredible. And again, you know, he's giving these interviews. And there is a level of racism to all of this because every interviewer is like a white person and they're like, wow, incredible. Like not questioning this at all. They're just like, ooh, mystical, magical yoga healing, you know? Like,
yeah.
You know.
Wow.
And during this time too, there was a rise in such like spirituality, like
yes,
being like appealing to white people and stuff. So yeah,
everybody was wearing a Kabbalah bracelet. Like this was that period of time, you know.
Yep.
So Bikram's popularity continued to grow, and by the late 90s, he was practically a celebrity. His classes were so popular that he did something that had never really been done before in the yoga world. And again, for good reason, because again, yoga is typically tied to so many spiritual practices that it feels uncouth to basically have like a franchise.
Right.
Which is kind of what he did. He franchised, and it's not just he franchised like Core Power Yoga or something like that. Like he franchised himself. And Bikram became a franchise. He began opening Bikram yoga teaching schools, and in order to operate a Bikram yoga studio, meaning using the actual name Bikram Yoga, you had to go through his teacher training. Like that is the only way. So if you ever see a school or you ever did that said like Bikram Yoga on it, the person who runs and opens that studio not only had to go through teacher training, they had to get permission from Bikram himself to open a school using his name.
Paying thousands of dollars.
Yes. So not only was the program really intense and grueling, it was 9 weeks long. It was hours of training in a brutally hot yoga studio where Bikram would often deny them the right to use the bathroom, time to sleep, or time to eat.
Fucking one.
Yeah, he was like,
not the fucking one.
It was very controlling. He was like, you're not going to use the bathroom. Like
my
one
petty
student
level
told,
is so high. Okay, I'll piss all over your fucking floor then.
Not the cult you would have fallen for at all.
No,
but
for me.
There was a story where a student was saying how like he had said that you can't use the bathroom. And so one of the students like walked over in the middle of class and went into the corner and peed into a water bottle and went back to his spot. And but Bikram was like, that guy has the right idea. Like, that's what I want all of you to be doing is just like pissing in bottles, like not allowing them to like excuse themselves for anything. So, and he also, you know, he didn't sleep very much. That's kind of a recurring theme. And so he kind of expected everyone else to not sleep very much either. And he didn't give them a lot of breaks to eat well either. And like, again, they are working out. They're working out in like 104-degree heat for hours a day.
Is my nightmare.
Yeah. So not only was it grueling, but it was also insanely expensive at about $10,000 to $11,000 per student. And each class would have 500 or more students. So
for that much money, I want it to be an individual course, please.
He's making crazy money.
Millions.
And again, he loved to flaunt his wealth. He depicted himself as the, quote, bad boy of yoga. Literally, it's on like a...
The way I just rolled my eyes.
I know.
I think I hurt myself.
I know. He's like in a leather jacket and it's like Bikram, the bad boy of yoga. And he would invite reporters.
With those tiny ass shorts.
With this little bitty Speedo. Like
Speedo,
the man
right.
wore a fucking Speedo. Okay. But anyway.
Sir. All the bad boys I know.
Yeah. But you know what? The confidence to wear that fucking Speedo and his man bun. Incredible.
Oh my God.
So he would invite reporters into his multi-million-dollar home and drive them around in his fleet of luxury cars, including Rolls Royces and Bentleys. He had like garages full of these like classic cars, and he was able to afford all of this because, you know, he had created this system where if you wanted to get on the Bikram train, which was really popular at the time, and again, actually really special for these people, you know, they felt a calling to pursue this particular kind of yoga, like they had to go through this very expensive teacher training. And so he was cleaning up, just making so much money.
Yeah.
So despite the fact that Bikram could be straight up verbally abusive in his classes, there are videos of him yelling at students, calling them bitches, like just awful. Many of his students genuinely seemed to love him. He was like a guru figure to these students. Like they really saw him almost as a spiritual guide, as like a god. It's like some of them literally would say that he had that kind of pull on people. So they say that he pushed them to be better students and teachers, and because the training program was so intense and isolating, many of the students in the Bikram community saw it as a family, and in fact, that's what they called themselves during training. Like, we're a family. The family. Yeah.
So is the Manson family.
Yeah, exactly. It's a pretty common...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like your work family.
Oh, yeah. Ugh.
Yeah, we're a family here, everybody.
We're a family.
Bikram
My family lets me go home if I want.
Yeah, exactly. Bikram would teach and berate his students from a raised platform. So again, very cult-like. Like they're all on the ground and he's on this raised platform. It reminded me of like a lifeguard stand, and he's always wearing his signature Speedo and headband. And while the classes were sweating in this extreme heat, he had a personal air conditioner that had vents that came up and like blew on the back of his neck. So he's just fine. Yeah. You can't get up and go get a respite from the heat to go use the bathroom, but I'm going to sit up here while you guys are all sweating doing yoga in swimsuits with a personal air conditioner on me. Yeah. So I think I've tried to make it pretty clear moving forward, but I do want to say at this point, I get it. Like we said last week, like there is a cult, in quotes, I use that term loosely, for everyone.
There really is, because some people get into Bikram, some people get into MLM, some people get into there's literally something for everybody out there that you get like a little too involved in. Your boundaries are down and you get taken advantage of.
Absolutely.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and yoga specifically because it's like all about like following your breath, and there is this very like spiritual element. You're doing it with other people, so there's this like community element as well.
Plus, you're so hot, you're probably hallucinating.
Yes, you're pushing your body to the point where like the endorphins must have been insane. You know, so it's just like there's a reason people continue to push their body through pain, because you get something out of it. So I want to say that like, even though on the outside, it's like, yeah, this guy looks nuts. This looks absolutely physically terrible. Like, you know, I understand how somebody could get hooked to it and why it would be important to them. So I want to make that clear here. You know, I don't want to be too judgmental about it. I can also see how in a situation like this, I could become, you know, it could be extremely flattering, and you could feel very flattered and honored when this person who you see as like your guru singles you out for positive attention. We have seen it so many times, right?
Yep.
Yeah. And even, I think, I was just thinking about this and like, you know, the Keith Raniere of it all. Like, these guys are not good looking, but there's something about that too. It's not intimidating. You're like, oh, that's attainable. So it just does hit that button where you're like, oh, this attainable looking person who is also so, you know, spiritual and, you know, sees the world in this really outside of the box way.
Yeah.
Thinks, I'm special. That's really incredible. You know, I mean, it really speaks to the uniqueness.
Yeah. They have this key to something that like you don't have, and like you want that. And at the same time, you're also getting something from that. And you have put so many of these people were like young people, and like $10,000 to like a young person is so much money. It's a lot of money, period.
Yeah.
But it's like you have put so many of your eggs into this one basket, and like this is what you want for your future, right? So it's like this is what you see for your future, and you're very attached to that, you know, like I get it. Sarah Bond joined the Bikram school to become a teacher after yoga helped her to manage her scoliosis. She had scoliosis, and like basically it went away, and she attributed that essentially to her, or the pain from her scoliosis went away, and she attributed that to these, you know, this particular form of yoga. She was also very gifted at yoga. Like if you watch her pictures and videos, she's incredibly flexible. And yeah, she's very gifted. She's also gorgeous. And Bikram singled her out immediately, complimenting her technique and finding little ways of distinguishing her from other students, which is something that you see with like cult leaders all the time. So he would oftentimes call people by nicknames.
Special.
Yeah, so he would call people by nicknames most of the time, but he called her Sarah, right? He called her by her name rather than giving her a nickname, which made her feel very special, right? Because she could see that there was that little distinguished, you know.
Yeah, it was respect.
Yeah. She describes her early days in the school as somewhat idyllic and euphoric. She was enamored by Bikram and excited to be there. Like she was so happy to be there, and, you know, actually told him, she's just like, told Bikram how much she admired him, and told him at one point, like, you're better than chocolate. Like said that to him, right? Not long into the program, Bikram called Sarah into his office and asked her, like, you know, imagine this situation. He calls her into his office. She sits down across from him, and he says, so what are we going to do about this? And she said, what do you mean? And he said, what are we going to do about us? And she's like, this came out of nowhere as far as she's concerned, right? Like, right. So she leaves the office. She's kind of dazed. She rejoins class. And after that, he kind of began this like campaign of harassment with her. So he would come and correct her in front of the whole class. And he would do things like, because a lot of yoga poses, again, they're in like bikinis. And a lot of yoga poses, like she said she was split open because she was doing like a standing bow pose. So she was doing like splits in the air where she was holding on to her ankle. And so her legs are split open, and he came basically like between her legs and was like pushing on her legs, and she could feel him like between her legs in front of the whole class, and was like whispering things into her ear and saying like, what are we going to do about us? You know what I mean?
Oh, gross.
But it's very predatory, very intimidating.
Yeah.
It should also be said at this time that Bikram was married and had been married to a fellow yogi from India named Rajashri since 1984. He married her when she was like 19 and he was like 30. So just, you know, for reference, when Sarah went to a senior staffer and told him that Bikram had basically asked her to have sex with him or be with him, the staffer, instead of helping her, said to her, if you're going to stay, do what I do. Separate the man from the teacher. Like everyone knew, they were like, we know he's a creep, but like he's our teacher. Like
this is so triggering to me.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah. Because it is like, it is 100% the same exact thing that I went through in my early 20s.
Yeah, and I'm sorry I didn't do this sooner. I'm so sorry I didn't do this sooner, but let me just do it now because it only gets worse. Like, huge trigger warning, like for sexual assault, rape, like, and, you know, also just someone in a place of authority taking advantage of other people. Like, it is very upsetting to hear about. And so I'm sorry I didn't give that trigger warning sooner. At this same time that he was doing this to Sarah, others were starting to notice, just kind of in passing, that strange things would go on at teacher training. There was actually his legal advisor. She was very interested in yoga and was like his legal advisor. And she had come to teacher training just to witness what was going on. And she was like, we can't really have a teacher school running like this. And other people were talking about how after long days of yoga and stuff like that, they would all gather around Bikram and students would massage his legs and thighs and stuff like that, which is strange, but everybody just kind of, you know, brushed it off. But then again, he wouldn't sleep at night. So late at night, they would be in rooms doing like posture training or whatever. And some of Bikram's associates would come into a room, just point at some of the girls and say, you, and you, Bikram wants to see you. And it would be like 2 a.m., right? And they would just go. And everybody was just kind of like, okay.
He's just building his own personal harem, basically. He thinks that he's a fucking prince from, like Sultan or some shit.
It's very... And the mental gymnastics that everyone must have been doing to justify this to themselves, that it's got to be, there has to be a reason for this, but they knew it was weird. And like they say in the documentary, they're like, we knew it was weird, but I think they were able to try and convince themselves that I'm sure that it's innocent or whatever,
Or, they're enthralled by the man, by the spiritual, and they're just like, you just ignore the bad parts. And you're like, the good outweighs the bad. Yeah. This good that he's bringing in the world, quote unquote.
Absolutely.
Is we'll ignore this bad stuff because there's so much good that he's doing.
And who, far be it for me to stand in the way of like what he has to bring to the world, right? Like, who am I?
Bullshit. It's such bullshit.
Mm-hmm. When Mandeep came over from India to study with Bikram, leaving her small son at home with her mother, she was excited, but almost immediately she was singled out by Bikram. Again, she's beautiful, who called her into his office late at night and asked her for a massage. And again, this had been normalized within the community that like he gets massaged by people there. So she was like, okay. So she starts giving him a massage on his shoulders.
The fuck out. Have you ever had a massage?
Huh?
You guys have all had massages. Like, it's not, I mean, it's fun, like, when your husband, boyfriend, or whatever gives you a little arm rub massage, but, like, people go to school for massage therapy. Like, there's, like, actual things, and you can fuck up people. To me, I'd be like, dude, I'm not qualified to give you a massage. Why don't you hire somebody, like, who's, I don't know.
You have the
fucking money.
You have the money to hire someone.
Why am I doing this?
Hindsight is 2020. It looks sus to us. Again, I'm sure that they were doing all kinds of mental gymnastics of like, well, we're really physically active all day, every day. This is a small thing I can do for my teacher. I'm sure that there were things like that, right? So he called her in. She starts massaging his like neck and shoulders, and he's talking to her, just talking, I think, kind of keeping her distracted. And like while he's talking to her, he's instructing her on where to go next. Like, go to my forearms, go to my wrists, like massage my hands, like. And so, of course, slowly he leads her into his legs, in between his inner thighs, and then tells her, now I want you to massage my dick.
No.
And
that's not how it goes.
Dick's not doing push-ups or whatever.
Right.
So, like,
why is your dick sore? Really?
Yeah.
So when she didn't immediately comply, he grabbed her hand and forced it there. And so she pulled away and tells him, you're my guru. Like, I see you as my guru. I can't do this with you. This is not the image that I have of my relationship with my guru. No,
Jesus.
So she eventually goes, and later on she tells him that, she goes immediately, but eventually she tells him that she's going to leave training. She's like, that situation was not okay with me, and I'm going to leave training. And he asks, why? Nothing happened. And she says, maybe nothing happened for you, but something happened for me, and I'm not comfortable. And so he tells her, well, don't leave training. It's not going to happen again. Just don't worry about it. It won't happen again. And so she stayed at training after that. And I don't believe it did happen again, but he was pushing, right? Like, to see what he could get away with. And when she was like, no, and I'm going to leave training, he was like, okay. Like, I give in, basically,
Yeah.
So Sarah, meanwhile, she's stayed. Like, she's like, this is what I want for my career. She's like, it's okay. Like, I'm just going to stay. And she says in the documentary, and it made me so sad because so many of these women were beating themselves up because they were like, why did I stay? Why did I go back? I just kept expecting it to be different. Like, I wanted it to be different and I expected it to be different. And so she, one night, he would stay up late at night watching Bollywood movies and would have people, because even though he had this multi-million-dollar house, he would stay in the hotel with them in the presidential suite during training. And so he would oftentimes have students, usually women, in his suite watching Bollywood movies like late at night, because again, he barely ever slept. So he called Sarah up there at like 3 a.m. He's like, I can't sleep. like, come watch this movie with me. So she went.
Answer.
She went and she was like in his hotel room with him, and she fell asleep watching this movie. And she wakes up. His people are like, hey, wake up. We're leaving. Like, they're telling her, like, we're leaving. So, like, let's go. And she's like, oh, okay. But she didn't have her shoes. She didn't have her purse. So she's like, just a second. Let me get my stuff. And while she was going to get her things, they left. So she heard the door shut. And she's like, I'm alone in this place with Bikram, right? So she goes to leave, and
That's some shitty people. That's all I'm saying.
Well, because they're complicit. Like, his people knew what was happening, 100%. Mm-hmm. So he's blocking her to get out the door. Like, and she's trying to get around him. She can't get around him. She can't get the door open. So he tells her basically, I'm going to have you now. And she thinks like he is going to rape me if I stay here. So she managed to get underneath him and get out the door. So she gets out the door.
Wow.
Yeah. And she tells her friend who's interviewed in this documentary what happened to her. And he's like, there was just such a weird feeling. Like, everybody was just kind of like, well, we don't know what to tell you. Like, you were held in this, they called it, you would be professionally exiled if you left. Like, you would not be able to work as in this field that you wanted to work in. You couldn't open a studio. All of these hours that you've devoted to this thing would be gone. So you had to weigh, like, what is this worth to me? He was holding you hostage.
Wow.
Professionally, basically.
Yeah.
Wow.
So Larissa Anderson was another woman. She was staying at Bikram's house. She was a student. And he, again, was like, you are so special. You could be the best teacher. Like, got really close to her. And she got close to the family, like his wife, his children. And so he was like, you know, you can work with Rajashree, my wife, and I, and you can stay in our home in Los Angeles. And so she was like, okay. And things felt okay for a while. But then one night they were watching a Bollywood movie, and Rajashree went upstairs with the kids to go to bed. And she was like, okay, I'll stay awake and watch this movie with you. But while she was watching it, he attempted to kiss her. And she's like, no, I don't want this. This isn't the relationship that I want with you. Also, your wife and children are upstairs. This isn't what I want. And so he's like, oh, okay, I'm sorry. He apologizes. And then he takes her by the hand and like stands her up. And she thinks that he's going to say, I'm so sorry. Like, I misread the situation. Like, that's where her head is at. Instead, and again, trigger warning here, he lifts her skirt, pulls down her underwear, pulls his own pants down, and rapes her. So, and she said after that, she was so stunned by the situation that, again, I think she did what a lot of people do, which is she just the next morning pretended like it never happened. Like, she just went into the kitchen,
compartmentalize.
Yeah. Yep. Had breakfast with them and just pretended like nothing happened. And soon after that, he approved for her to open her own Bikram studio. So she moved on. She opened her own studio. She told one friend and told that friend, you are not ever allowed to tell anybody. And that was it. And she just kind of left it behind her at that point. So time went on like this, and it was basically an open secret within the Bikram community that he was sexually assaulting and harassing women. And it was devastating for these women, you know, because again, like, their professional dreams and aspirations were tied up in Bikram. He could make or break them. And also they had looked up to this person, and that idea of who this person was completely shattered for them. So they were grappling with a lot of stuff, which is really hard. As time went on, Bikram was just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. He had tons of celebrity endorsements. I mean, everyone was doing Bikram and talking about it, from George Clooney to Kim Kardashian, Jason Bateman, Sandra Bullock. Everybody was like, we are doing Bikram yoga. They're talking about it, you know.
I bet he didn't try to do that to Sandra Bullock.
Well, she didn't know. I mean, these people didn't know, like, behind the scenes, you know, what was going on. And in the meantime, like, all this stuff was happening. Eventually, Sarah Bond went on to get married and have a daughter. And she described a moment when she had just finished teaching a class and her daughter was there, who was a toddler at the time, or like a very young child at the time, and told her, when I grow up, I want to be just like you and teach yoga. And she said the first thing that went into this is what changed it for her, because the first thing that went through her mind was, you can't do that, you'll get raped. Which is so awful that like those two things were so directly linked in her brain now, you know? Yeah. So it was at that moment that she was like, okay, we can't let this go on anymore. Like, this is affecting me. Like, I'm afraid for my daughter. And look at, he has risen to this level of fame that is just so fucked up. So many people are continuing to go to his classes. So she was like, I'm going to sue Bikram and I'm going to get a lawyer and I'm going to speak out. And so that's what she did. She went public with her story, appearing on news outlets across the country. In an interview with CNN, when Bikram was presented with the allegations, he, of course, denies them and uses this classic piece of shit line, which we have to talk about, which is, I can get any woman I want. Women line up to have sex with me. I don't need to rape women. What the fuck is this line? Because so many men use it, but do they hear themselves when they say shit like this? That's such a weird fucking flex. It plays into this weird incel behavior. Like, do you think anyone needs to rape somebody? Like, just because like you have women who are willing to have sex with you? Like, do you think that not famous or unattractive men need to rape? Like, why would you justify it like that? It's so fucking weird.
Yeah, it is. And it's also because like the act of rape isn't really about sex. It's about power and control. And so it doesn't matter how many women are willing to sleep with you.
That's
you
not
can
what you're
still be a
racist,
right? Or a rapist, because
you could be both.
He is both. So we'll get to that in a second. But it's just such a weird thing that you hear people say, because it's just like, by making that argument that I don't need to rape because women want to have sex with me is basically saying that there are some people who do because women don't want to have sex with them, which is such a weird fucking like equivalence. It's just so strange. So the Bikram community after this blew up. It was completely divided. You had this yoga teacher named Liz Winfield, which I said, hi cousin, because there are not very many Winfields, so we're probably related somewhere down the line, who was also a medical professional who had been a medical volunteer and very close to Bikram for like many, many years and provided medical care at the school. So she had known Sarah as well and posted Sarah's story to a Bikram teacher community page, and people lost their shit. She was met with like so much hatred, so much vitriol, typical victim blaming shit, blaming the women, saying that they like asked for this, it's a money grab, etc. And no one wanted to believe that like their guru, who they had devoted all this time and their livelihood and their lives to, could have done these things.
Right.
So after hearing Sarah's story, Larissa Anderson decided, she's like, I need to share mine too. She went to LA. She went to the LAPD. The detective asked her what she was wearing, if she was drunk or high, if this really happened, why would you go back to teaching? Like, all of those things. Despite the fact that she faced this kind of re-traumatization from the police, she went public and in 2014 contacted media outlets to tell her story. Seeing this, so it was this domino effect. So seeing this, Mandeep also came forward and told her story, not just in the US, but also in India. And in one of her interviews, Larissa tells the reporter on Nightline, quote, "The young women who want to believe in something so badly, he sees it. Those are the people that he targets because they're vulnerable." And it's absolutely true. So when all of this was going on, Bikram's head of legal affairs, which is a woman named Mickey Jaffa Bowden, calls Bikram up, and he's completely unraveling. Like all of these, it's bad press, like all of these accusations. Around the same time that Sarah had come forward, they were already trying to settle another lawsuit made by a woman named Pandora Williams, who had made a claim that while in teacher training, she faced sexism from Bikram, who often referred to women as bitches and whores and said that they were only there to spread their legs. And there's at least, like I said, one video of him calling a woman a bitch in front of everybody. Pandora, who is a black woman, also faced severe racial abuse at the hands of Bikram, who kicked her out of his classes, saying in front of everyone, quote, "Get this black bitch out of here. She's a cancer."
Wow.
So Mickey, the head of legal affairs, is subpoenaed to testify for Pandora. And when Bikram finds out about this, he goes bananas. He calls Mickey for a meeting, but he calls her for a meeting in his hotel room. And she's like, that's weird. When she goes over there, he gets under the covers in his bed, asks her to come over and talk to him. And she's really freaked out because at this point, she fully believes that like he is a sexual predator. She's like, he's a sexual predator. I know it. This situation is really fucked up. So she gets herself out of that situation. Then she goes to Rajashri, Bikram's wife, and she's like, Rajashri, Bikram cannot be in charge of the company. He is unstable. Like, you need to take over control of the, Bikram, the company, right? And Rajashri basically tells her, you need to calm down. You need to think about what's good for you. Let Bikram have his girls. You need to be really careful here, basically. And it can be assumed that Rajashri must have told Bikram what happened because not long after this, Mickey says that she was physically dragged into an office by Bikram associates and told that if she didn't resign right then and there, bad things would happen to her. And they also kind of vaguely threatened her daughter, which is pretty scary. She had a very young daughter. So she steps down and then immediately contacts an attorney named Carla Menard, who agrees to take her case against Bikram for gender discrimination, sexual harassment, and wrongful termination on the condition that she would testify and go through trial and wouldn't settle no matter what. And she agreed, to her credit, which was really tough because Bikram had gotten her passport or her visa revoked. She had no income. He had repossessed her car. I think she had a company car because she's from India. She had traveled to the United States to do this. Right. So he'd repossessed her car. Her power in her apartment had been turned off. So like the urge to settle would have been high, right? But she's like, no, we're going to see this through. So he did everything in his power to delay his trial with Mickey. He went through 7 sets of lawyers, and it was 3 years later that the case was officially brought. So you can watch the deposition of Bikram, and it is so clear that he has such a disdain and disrespect for women. And this is where I say he is so Trumpian. He is petulant. He is hurling personal insults at Carla Menard, who is like, keep it going. Like, keep saying it because like you look insane.
Bring it on,
right?
Bitch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in this legal deposition, he says that he doesn't like cold pussy. So that's the kind of man we're dealing with.
Wow, gross. Mm-hmm. That's so
This is a man
foul.
who has gotten away with anything and everything with no consequences.
Mm-hmm. So when they finally went to trial, Bikram tried to claim that he was broke and bankrupt and didn't have any money. So they pulled up, they're like, oh, really? Speaking of Nepo babies, they pulled up his kids' Instagrams and they're like, here's your daughter holding the keys to 5 different luxury cars with the caption, "Thanks, Daddy," on it. Like, you just bought your wife a $350,000 Bentley. Like, you don't have any money. And he's like, no, those cars aren't mine. They belong to the state of California because I have a deal with Jerry Brown. Like, he's just spinning. It's so weird.
You are so out of your mind, dude.
He has no idea where his sentence is going to end when he starts speaking. It's so bizarre. It's very narcissistic.
That is very Trumpian.
Yeah, it's incredibly narcissistic. And he says in court that he had healed Nixon's leg. So they're like, bet. Right? They're like, okay, you've now said this in court. It's on the record that this is something you did. So they dig into the past. They call the Nixon library and they're like, that didn't happen. He never met you.
100%.
Yeah. That never happened. And again, in a very, I don't want to keep saying that, but like a very Trumpian move, when he gets off the stand, he made the jury laugh. Like, they were laughing at him. And he gets off the stand, he gives his lawyers a thumbs up. Like, he thinks he did a good job.
A fucking moron, dude.
So after the Nixon revelation, there's a journalist in Calcutta who starts digging into Bikram's past. And she found that basically everything that he'd said about his life before coming to America was a lie. Competitive yoga wasn't even a thing in India. At the time that he was saying that he did it. It is a thing now, or it was a thing, but it wasn't at the time that he was saying that he did it. And also, they found that the Bikram yoga sequence, those like 26 and 2, 26 postures, 2 breathing techniques that he was trying to get copyrighted in the United States. He stole it from Ghosh, his mentor. None of it was his. And they interviewed this guy who was like, Bishnu Ghosh was also my master, my yoga master. And I knew that he had, like, the fact that he was marketing this as Bikram yoga was bullshit. And he had the only copy of Bishnu Ghosh's like manual that had all the poses in it, and he got it published because he was like, these Bikram didn't come up with these poses,
Yay, good.
And America just ate up all these lies. They were like, sure, sounds good.
Of course.
In Mickey's case, the jury deliberated for a day and a half before finding in her favor unanimously on every count. So he now owed Mickey $7.5 million in damages. He literally ran out of the courtroom. You can see video of him like booking it out of the courtroom.
That's not how that works. They can find you. You still owe that.
Well, immediately after this, Bikram hid all his assets and fled the country without paying the damages or facing his remaining sexual assault and rape charges. Wow. Rajashree filed for divorce, and most believe that this was a legal tactic, a sham divorce, because the assets had been switched to her name, which means that that money could be shielded from the verdict. The judge still demanded that wherever Bikram was, he's like, I don't care where he is in the world. You are going to find him and you are going to serve him with these papers to pay the damages. So they track him down in Thailand to serve the papers. And there's video. He is like just berating and abusing the people who are trying to serve him these papers.
Wow.
Though he was summoned to court, the DA at the time, Jackie Lacey, who we have feelings about, I'm sure, on this show, refused to charge Bikram criminally, even though he had, at this point, half a dozen women had come forward with sexual assault and rape allegations.
Well, that's pretty par for the course for her, though.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, and Carla Menard said, she's like, I really do feel like it's just Jackie Lacey doesn't want to go after powerful men. Like, that's what it is. So Mickey has yet to receive a penny of what's owed. At this point, again, half a dozen women had come forward, and Carla Menard wrote a personal letter to Jackie Lacey and was like, you have to prosecute. And she wasn't able to, because they needed to press criminal charges so that, like, not just civil charges, so that they could extradite him back into the country. And she won't press the charges, so they can't get him back in the country. The women, including Sarah and Larissa, who had claims against Bikram, ended up settling out of court. They talk about the reasoning for settling in the documentary, and it's just so sad because what they wanted was justice, and like they weren't going to get. They were like, "Why go to court and re-traumatize myself?
Read through this, yes.
Like when I can't
That's
face
relatable.
him.
I fucking relate to that shit.
Yeah,
100%.
they're like, I won't be able to face him in court. I also, whatever judgment is given to me, I won't be able to collect on that anyway." You know, like what's the point of it? And they say that they don't feel justice has been done. They settled, out of court, and they don't feel like justice has been done. 4 of the 6 women settled. They just wanted to move on with their lives, but their stories have never changed about what happened to them. Though only 6 women pressed sexual assault charges against Bikram, many, many other women have come forward and told their stories of assaults from Bikram. Though Bikram remains a fugitive in the United States to this day, he continues to hold teacher trainings throughout the world in Mexico, Spain, India, and teachers in the United States continue to send their students, including young women, to these trainings.
Wow.
Yeah. So he is still teaching.
It was an infuriating documentary to watch.
I'm so glad. I watched like one episode.
Oh,
I watched like one episode and I was like,
it's not an episodic. It's just it's a movie.
Oh, I think I just watched part of it.
Yeah.
And stopped it.
Yeah,
I didn't watch the whole thing.
And it's hard because you do have like a lot of people have come to reckonings with it. They've changed the name of their like yoga studios from Bikram Yoga to Hot Yoga. But then you do also have people who are like, I will never stop promoting this form of yoga because it's magical and it's gonna make a comeback, and it's basically saying that like whatever damage is worth it, which is so like devastating and so sad for these women. And it's so what he did, like his MO was so Weinstein-y in nature, you know, like it's so similar, like the parallels between him, what he did and what Weinstein did.
The way I almost did Weinstein for mine.
Yeah. I mean, they're incredibly,
I've thought about it, but
it's an incredibly similar tactic to like take these young women who look up to you, who admire you, who rely on you for their professional advancement, and then put them in these positions where they can't
say no
or get out.
Yeah.
Yep.
So anyway, it's a little bit of a longer one, but one that I was really like on my heart this week, you know, because I really enjoy yoga. I think it's very special. And I think a lot of people feel like that and connect it in a spiritual way. And like to have something like that happen is so devastating.
But that's the reason why it can happen.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, that's kind of the core for the playbook is if it's something that you connect with in a spiritual way or something that's above the mundane of human life, something that you think that you're doing something special, something spiritual, that's how a predator is able to get in to you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And again, you know, because I was thinking about this as well, because we had that conversation last week, and it is important to be mindful of how you're absorbing anything. Because like I said, I could get sucked into something as well as anybody else. And the only way to avoid that is to really analyze what you're doing and be very mindful of the importance you're placing, like where you're placing it in your life in matter of importance and stuff like that. And so, yeah,
I might be in a cult right now called Vampire Diaries. Because I
You've
swear
been
to you, I
texting me all week.
I cannot stop watching it.
No, it's addictive.
I literally cannot stop watching it.
Yeah.
It's so fucking good. I'll just have it on the background like while I'm working this week because I've been working from home and it's been a little quiet. I'm like addicted to it. It's a problem.
It's incredibly addictive. It's a very addictive show. I cannot judge you. I went down the Vampire Diaries train several years ago. It's a wild ride.
Our friend Vered is doing it with me. She texted me like the beginning of this week and she was like, "You got me. I'm starting Vampire Diaries."
Here we go.
I'm like, yeah, here we go. It's listen, the way I want to do like a podcast just so I can talk about all my thoughts and feelings about it.
Yeah, a rewatch podcast.
Amazing.
I get you. Yeah. I have been, you know, trying to squeeze in my last several books for the year. Trying to get them in. I'm so close to, I wanted to read 50 physical books. And then I've listened to a lot of audiobooks this year, but 50 physical books was like that's what I really want to do. And so I have 2 books left, but I got a couple of smaller books and I read Intimations by Zadie Smith, which is very short. It's just like a short book of essays. And she wrote it during lockdown in 2020. And so it's very good. I really enjoyed it. But it was also just so interesting, I think, as we move into the next year to reflect on the past. I think is very normal for us to be doing. And like looking back at that specific moment in time when we were all in lockdown and there was so much like uncertainty and so much time for us to reflect on our like lives.
It'll be a real snapshot of that moment.
Yeah.
You know? Which is interesting.
I enjoyed it, and I really like Zadie Smith's writing. So
that's cool.
I was just looking at my bookshelf because I swear to God I have one of her books, and it's on my list to read. It's not that one, but I have gotten into this week Succession.
Oh
yeah. Oh, I couldn't do
you
it.
Made
dude.
it. Look.
Oh.
Sometimes it just takes a few times.
I finally get it. I think I'd only watched the first episode before and I was by myself and I was just like, ugh, rich people, like, fuck this.
That's where I'm at.
But then when I got into it, it's so absurd.
It's absurd. And the acting is so good.
Absurd.
Yeah.
It is so funny. Some of the stuff they say, like right now Connor's thinking he can run for president and I just am laughing.
And
so
honestly,
hard.
some of it is like part of what makes it tolerable because there is so much obscene wealth that makes it like hard to watch. And you're like, oh, it is rich people. And you're like, well, you know, but what makes it tolerable is that ultimately we're laughing at them. Like they're so
they're
ridiculous.
So awful and ridiculous. And I didn't realize it was Adam McKay.
Oh, yeah.
Which I was just like, oh, okay, this makes it. it's so extreme, it's so absurd that I'm into it.
And they're all
We're
miserable.
in the middle of season 2 right now. So
they're all super rich, but they're all like miserable people too. Is like the thing is like you're like
there's no hero. There's no one to root for.
No.
And that's what was hard for me. I'm like, I need someone, even if they're kind of bad. I just need someone to root for.
Not even cousin Greg.
Not.
You're like,
no, not even. He's a fucking idiot. He's
stupid.
so funny,
so dumb. I can't. I really tried.
Maybe the brother, maybe Logan Roy's brother, who like lives in Scotland and is just like, fuck all.
Oh yeah, James Cromwell. Yeah, it's so funny. Well, if you guys have something that we should watch, or you've got a terrible date story, or you just want to reach out and say hello, go to our one-stop shop of a website. It's myworstdatepodcast.com. And we love you so much.
Cheers.
This is a Glass Box Media Podcast.